So while you're in San Diego, I don't know if they started it or was already there, but you decided you were going to go to SNOWCAP.
Yes.
Tell the audience what SNOWCAP is.
SNOWCAP was a DEA specialized paramilitary program that was developed in, I think, late 1986, early 1987, in which agents would be specially trained in military small unit tactics to go and work with our host country counterparts in a drug suppression program targeting the production and transportation of cocaine at its source. So it was a very young program and continued to evolve over the years. But basically, you had special agents who were selected, screened, and trained up to execute that mission. It was an interesting time because, of course, as a brand new agent, and I saw that young guy, I wanted to get in that right away. And they were like, "Wait, you need to kind of go to the field for a little bit before we're going to let you into a program like that." And so I volunteered for it in the spring of 1988. I had been on the job for just over a year, and I was accepted into the program, and I went off to training. Now, it was very controversial in those days. A lot of people within DEA did not like SNOWCAP. It was considered DEA is an investigator's job. We shouldn't be doing this type of mission. A lot of the old school guys, or frankly, some people who may have wanted to do it but couldn't do it,
Mm-hmm.
were very much anti. So there was a lot of bias towards people who volunteered. And a lot of us suffered to a certain degree for volunteering for a program like that with lower evaluations and things of that nature at the
Mm.
time until headquarters fixed that.
Oh, that's interesting.
But so I went off to training, and being the young enthusiastic guy I was having loads of fun. Right in those days, it wasn't the training wasn't as, I don't want to say organized, but it wasn't the doctrine wasn't as fixed. So we initially went off to train with the Marine Corps Officers Corps in Quantico in small unit tactics, patrolling, land navigation, and some explosives work. And then we went off to a crash course for 3 months in Spanish. And then in this iteration, when I was going through, we were shipped off to Panama for 30 days to spend that time with a special forces team learning jungle warfare and specialized weapons training. So after that, you were considered SNOWCAP certified.
Oh, so you actually did a training mission in Panama to be certified.
Right. It was a unique time, too, because Noriega was still in power in Panama.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were training at Fort Sherman, the U.S. Military Jungle Operations Training Center with the Special Forces team, our Special Forces instructors, while we were carrying weapons, they were filled with blanks. They were carrying live ammo because there had been incursions on the bases by Cuban infiltrators and Panamanian infiltrators at the time. So just had it all going on. Very, very unique.
Later on, do you know, did they make that? So you were training with Marines, but I thought
Well,
they said,
Marines and Special Forces.
okay, but I thought it was like a modified Ranger course later on.
That's correct. That evolved in 1991, I believe, 91 or 92, because I subsequently became a SNOWCAP assessor and instructor for some of that
Oh,
also.
okay. Okay. So once you get certified, you get deployed.
I did immediately.
How many times did you deploy on SNOWCAP? SNOWCAP.
From 1988 to 1993, I made 5 trips.
Okay. Where'd you go?
My first 2 trips were to Bolivia. Bolivia at the time was the largest coca producing area till it moved to Peru at the time. So I did 2 trips in the Chapare region of Bolivia.
Hmm.
And
On
it was very, and again, these were the early days of SNOWCAP.
Yeah.
We became much better at it. In those days, it was almost kind of a World War II drop you off with helicopters, and then we'll see you in 3 months and get you back. It was different.
Wow.
I came back from that first trip 30 pounds lighter than I went down, and the lightest I've been since probably my sophomore year in high school.
Wow.
Just because we weren't eating well.
Mm-hmm.
The jungle was taking its toll on a lot of things.
So you did Bolivia. Where were the other places you went?
After Bolivia, 1990, I went to Peru.
Okay.
And then I took a couple years off because SNOWCAP had a commitment. They wanted you to do 3 trips.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was still very much into the program, but I took a couple years off because I also was working for the San Diego division, and I wanted to stay in somewhat good graces with management.
Right.
And I wanted to show that I could be a regular criminal investigator too. So for 2 years, I did not do a SNOWCAP trip. I stayed on the active roles. And then in 92, I came back and I was an assessor at, now it had been formalized and they had the modified ranger school. So now there's in Fort Benning. So I went back. I did a team leaders course they had for advanced SNOWCAP agents, more patrolling, more weapons training, and things of that nature. And then was an assessor for the classes going through. And then in 1992, I did another trip to Bolivia. And then in 1993, I did another trip to Peru.
So on any of your tours, did you get to blow up cocaine labs and do whatever you were doing to airfields? What'd you end up doing?
Everything. Um, Probably participated in the destruction and of several hundred cocaine laboratories. Um, Dozens of airfields blown up.
Mm.
It was a different time, different era.
Yeah.
Um, we were very fortunate. We never lost a DEA special agent to combat there,
Mhm.
but there were a lot of gunfights that occurred
Mm.
in those days. And no one really paid attention to it. I guess it was before the end of social media. Things were reported up and it was just kind of the expected thing.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about this. To me, it would seem like, especially with what you're saying, it would be a pretty successful program. Um, but DEA is very reactionary. And it was my understanding that although it was successful, the reason why they stopped it was basically at a plane crash or a helicopter crash, and we had some agents get killed, and they were like, "Okay, that's it," right? But from your standpoint of being down there, did you think you were doing, you know, uh, if you're blowing up that many cocaine labs, did you think you were making an impact?
I think we were. Now, airstrips are rebuilt, labs are relocated,
Right,
but you're keeping the pressure on the traffickers at the source.
right,
That's tough. And your effect is magnified as opposed to taking off small drug dealers here. When you take off the production facilities for really not a high cost at the time.
yeah,
Um, again, we were very fortunate. We never lost anybody in gunfights.
yes,
Everyone we lost were in airplane
yeah.
crashes, and which is very unfortunate. We had some people wounded in some gun battles.